Just say we're going to be in Proverbs 6, 1 through 35. That's the whole chapter, and I think we can get through this today. And one of the good things about Proverbs is that it's pretty straightforward. Okay, there's you can always dive deeper onto a plethora of things, but a lot of this is pretty easy to comprehend. It's kind of like life. There's some things that are easy to understand but hard to do, and that is the case here. So Proverbs 6, verse 1: My son, if you've become a guarantor for your neighbor and have struck hands in a pledge for a stranger, if you have been snared with the words of your mouth and have been caught with the words of your mouth, do this then, my son, and deliver yourself. Since you have come into the hand of your neighbor, go humble yourself and badger your neighbor. Give no sleep to your eyes, nor slumber to your eyelids. Deliver yourself like a gazelle from the hunter's hand, like a bird from the hand of a fowler. Verse 6. Go to the ant, O sluggard, observe her and be wise, which having no chief, officer, or ruler, prepares her food in the summer and gathers her provision in the harvest. How long will you lie down, O sluggard? When will you arise from your sleep, a little slumber, a little folding of the hands to rest? And poverty will come upon you like a vagabond, and your want will be like an armed man. A vile person, a wicked man, is the one who walks with a perverse mouth, who winks with his eyes and signals with his feet, who points with his fingers, who with perversity in his heart continually devises evil, who spreads contention. Therefore his disaster will come suddenly. Instantly he will be broken, and there will be no healing. There are 6 things which the Lord hates, even 7 which are an abomination to him: haughty eyes, a lying tongue, hands that shed innocent blood, a heart that devises wicked thoughts, feet that hasten to run to evil, a false witness who breathes out lies, and one who spreads strife among brothers. My son, observe the commandment of your father. Do not abandon the law of your mother. Bind them continually on your heart. Tie them around your neck. When you walk about, they will lead you. When you sleep, they will watch over you. When you awake, they will speak to you. For the commandment is a lamp, and the law is a light, and reproofs for discipline are the way of life, to keep you from the evil woman, from the smooth tongue of the foreign woman. Do not desire her beauty in your heart. Do not let her capture you with her eyelids. For on account of the harlot, one is reduced to a loaf of bread, and an adulteress hunts for the precious life. Can a man take fire into his bosom and his clothes not be burned? Or can a man walk on hot coals and his feet not be scorched? So is the one who goes into his neighbor's wife. Whoever touches her will not go unpunished. Men do not despise a thief if he steals to fill himself when he was hungry, but if he is found, he must repay 7-fold. He must give all the substance of his house. The one who commits adultery with a woman is lacking the heart of wisdom. He who would destroy his soul does it. Wounds and disgrace he will find, and his reproach will not be blotted out. For jealousy enrages a man, and he will not spare in the day of vengeance. He will not accept a ransom. He will not be willing, even though you give him many bribes. So, chapter 6, there's really, the way I've got this broken up, I've got it pulled apart into I think, what did I have here? 6 different subjects. And a third of those subjects is the last one, which is, roughly 10 verses or so, verses 24 through 35, 11 verses have to do with the adulteress or avoiding adultery. But starting at the top, the first 5 verses having to do with relational and business problems and dealing with those problems quickly. Okay, and we'll go through each of these, but I'm going to give you a quick overview. Verses 6 through 11 have to do with work ethic. Verses 12 through 15 have to do, about evil schemers. 16 through 19, these are 7 things that God hates. Verses then 20 through 23. Some people don't break out 20 through 23. I broke that out because it speaks specifically about the commandments of God. And how those are a light. And then, of course, 24 through 35, as we mentioned, are warnings against adultery. So a full third of this chapter has to do with the warnings against adultery. And, of course, that parallels nicely with what we talked about last week in chapter 5. And as I mentioned before, Proverbs is doesn't follow any kind of necessarily a logical pattern or something like that. It skips around in different places, and so it's kind of up to us to put some of these things together. I'm just going through it verse by verse in the order that it's given because, well, that's how it's given, so that's how we're going through it. So let's look at verses 1 through 5. This idea that things should be, when you find yourself in a jam, right? When you said something that you shouldn't have said or made a commitment that you shouldn't have made, and then you fall, you get overextended or something gets sideways. That's how he talks about here. If you've been a guarantor for your neighbor and have struck a hands in a pledge with a stranger and been snared with the words of your mouth. In other words, some of us are really good at chewing on shoe leather, right? We say things impetuously. We make too many commitments or a bad commitment. And then the idea is that now I'm stuck, right? I did something I shouldn't have done. I made an agreement I shouldn't have made, okay? And now, what do I need to do? Well, it's kind of like this. If you let that fester, it's not going to get better, right? When you have regret, when you do something poorly, when you make a bad decision, obviously the best thing to do is to make a good decision, right? That's a given. But this is having to do, once you've messed up, once you made the decision, don't delay. Don't procrastinate. Quickly, go to, how does he say this? Do this and you will deliver yourself. Verse 3. Since you've come into the hand of your neighbor, and the idea of being in his hand, right? He's got you, right? That's where you don't want to be, right? He's got you by the shirt, he's got you by the collar, he's got you by the arm. You're in his hands. He says, go, the end of verse 3, so there's verse 3 is a triplicate. Go and, what does it say to do? Humble yourself. Hey man, I messed up. Some of the 3 hardest words for people to say are, I am sorry, I was wrong. I made a mistake, okay? You need to be willing to humble yourself and do those things. We all do, okay? I'm saying you guys, but humble yourself is what he says. And I like this. How does your translation say the last part of verse 3? Humble yourself and do what?
Badgering, right?
Badgering.
Plead urgently.
Plead urgently. Plead urgently. Brad, what you got the NIV?
Yeah, mine says press your plea with your neighbor.
Press your plea?
Yeah,
press your plea, yeah. Badger him, like stay after him, press your plea. Like if he's like, no, you're stuck, buddy, right? What does it say to do? Be persistent, right? Don't give up, right? You remember Jesus talks about he gives an illustration about prayer, and he talks about the woman who goes to the unjust judge. And she continually is just like, hey, you need to give me justice. And the judge is like, leave me alone, woman. I got stuff to do. And she just stays after him and stays after him. Every sales guy will tell you that you need to be patiently persistent, right? Continue to stay on top of people. There's something about that. Well, here the case is that this guy messed up. He did something he shouldn't have done. Badger your neighbor. Don't let it go, right? Stay after him. Humble yourself. Give no sleep to your eyes. Again, this has to do not just with persistence, I think, but also with urgency. Don't go to sleep. No slumber to your eyelids. That's a synonymous parallelism, saying the same thing 2 different ways. Deliver yourself like a gazelle from the hunter's hand, like a bird from the fowler. So the point just being, be diligent to fix screw-ups quickly. Be diligent to fix screw-ups quickly. My commitment with everybody, friends, business partners, any of this stuff is that when I make a mistake, number one, it will be an honest mistake. Okay, I didn't do it on purpose. Okay, I screwed up. I was impetuous. There was a blind spot. Whatever. Okay, it'll be an honest mistake. I will never intentionally lie to somebody or something like that. So number one, it'll be an honest mistake. Number 2, I'm going to own that mistake. It was mine to own. I screwed up. I did something I shouldn't have done, or I failed to do what I should have done, or whatever the case is. So 1, own it. Number 2, number one is honest. It's an honest mistake. Number two is own it. Number three, make it right in any way possible. Make it right. Do what you got to do to make it right. And number four, learn from that mistake so that you don't ever do it again. Right? Learn from that mistake so that you don't ever do it again. Those are my commitments to my friends, my family, my business partners, anybody. So mistakes will be honest mistakes. And if I did something stupid, and I do more than I'd like to admit, honestly. Especially as you're young, you have to sometimes learn things the hard way, even though you try not to. So verses 1 through 5 have to do with this being diligent to fix problems quickly, not ignoring them, and that's what a lot of guys do, right? They're passive. They think that if they ignore the problem, it'll go away. It's not going away. Okay, this applies to a marriage as well. It applies to relationships across the board. Problems don't go away. Okay, there's some of us that are by nature peacekeepers. We don't like confrontation, stuff like that. This is having to do with when I'm the one who screwed up. You need to have the confrontation. Have it on your terms. Have it quickly. Okay, you need to man up and do that. Okay, some of us like confrontation too much, and we run too fast into some of that. But there's some of us, even me, sometimes there have been a handful of times where I'm like, I don't want to do this. This sucks, right? Getting egg on your face is never fun. Eating crap is never fun, right? And that's what you got to do. Be a man, own it, get on with it, and take your medicine, rip the Band-Aid off, and get on with it, right? And we've all had to do this. We do it, friendships, relationships, wives, business partners, everybody. Okay, we've all had to do this. So this is just the admonition to get after it. Notice that those are commands also. Those are commands. It tells you what to do and what not to do there. I would encourage you to highlight those things in verse 3, verse 4, and verse 5. Verse 6. Verse 6 is a different subject. It's about work ethic. Okay? Notice how he starts off. He says, go to the ant. What does he mean, go to the ant? Go to the ant. What does that mean? Right? Look at this little dude. What does he do? Observe her ways, having no chief or officer or ruler, gets after it, prepares when it's summertime, so that they've got enough to eat. And the idea basically is just this, what does the ant do? The ant prepares, the ant thinks ahead, and the ant works really hard. Even though the ant's small, it can cause either a lot of damage or do a lot of good for itself. That's the idea. It works hard. It gets after it. And then he talks about verse 9, how will you lie down, O sluggard? I love that word. That's what I call my teenage kids when they're, in the bed. Get up, let's go. Daylight's burning. How long will you love sleep? When will you arise? A little sleep, a little slumber, a little rest. So that, you notice there that's in quotations in your Bible. He's quoting the sluggard. The sluggard, what does the sluggard say? Just a little longer. Let me hit snooze one more time. It's not a big deal, man. I just, man, this bed feels so good, right? And who doesn't like that? There's balance in all this, guys, right? Do you need to rest and stuff like that? If you keep burning the candle at both ends and down the middle, that'll make an old man out of a young man real fast. Ask me how I know, right? We didn't sleep for almost 10 years. I mean, it was actually a little bit longer than that, but, and I, in an attempt to not be lazy, right, I overcorrected for that. But the opposite for many people today is that they don't even know how to work at all. They don't know how to get after it, right? How to find another gear, how to push through difficulty. And what he's saying here is that there should be a strong work ethic. And notice the result. Verse 11, poverty will come upon you like mine says vagabond. You got another translation there? What does it say?
Bandit.
Like a bandit.
Robert.
A robber, yeah. It's like, what is it that you're being robbed by yourself essentially because you're not working. In other words, and this is one of the things that people today, a lot of young people don't really understand. They think that there ought to be some kind of guaranteed minimum wage or whatever, and it's like, look, man, you have to provide value. You have to provide more value than you're taking, than what you're being paid. All right. Otherwise, it doesn't make sense to pay you as a business owner. And so there's also a connection between what you do and what you earn, and how hard it is what you do. We literally had this conversation last night with my daughter. Okay, I was getting after her a little bit. I was mainly razzing her a little bit, but she's got this job and she makes what she makes, and I was like, well, you could. She got rid of one job that she was making 80% more money than what she's making now. Okay, 70%. Okay, and but she said, but I like my job. And she said, it's fun and it's easy. I said, that's why they pay you what they pay you, because it's fun and easy. There's a direct correlation between how hard it is and what you make, right? That's the way it works, right? It either requires more skill or more effort or something or somebody or a relationship or whatever. Like, there's a direct correlation to that, right? And of course, I just wanted to slap her pretty little face, I didn't do that, but it's like, what are you doing? Like, what, because, her dad's a hard ass and makes her pay for stuff, so this idea, and, and we have to get after them, it's like, hey, you can't sleep, you don't need to sleep 12 hours, right? I don't know what the number is for you, but you need to figure out that number, okay? Right? I know guys that are, 4 or 5 hour guys. I know guys that are 8, 10 hour guys, but I think 10 is pushing it. This is just my own personal opinion. You take this for what it's worth, okay? This is my opinion, not the Bible, okay? This is Cody's having worked out in life, and maybe you guys have another opinion about this. I just think 10 hours a night is too much. I don't think you need to sleep that much. The studies say 8 hours, I do think there's some wiggle room with that. Maybe it's a little more, maybe it's a little less, but it's not 12. It's not half the stinking day. You lazy bum, get your butt up and get after it. Like, what in the world? I don't know anybody that's productive that sleeps that much, right? I mean, that's ridiculous, And we got people sleeping in and just doing dumb stuff. Anyway, get your butt up and get moving. That's the bottom line here, okay? Verses 6 through 11. Get after it. Work hard. Can you go too far with this? Of course you can, right? Be a man of balance and be a man of wisdom, but also understand, there are people that live their entire lives just for, that they work their entire lives to live for vacation or something like that. And I just tell you, man, I like to work. I want to work, right? That's enjoyable. God commanded you to work, and that's a good thing because He's working. Work is a good thing. Work existed before the fall. You realize that, right? There will probably be work in heaven, right? Heaven on earth. There will probably be accomplishing. There's a real sense of meaning and purpose through meaningful work, man. And so go to the ant. Don't be a bum, right? Don't be I don't know what word you want to use there. Sloth. Don't be a sluggard, right? Verse 12 through 15. A vile person, a wicked man who talks with his perverse mouth, winks with his eyes and signals with his feet and points with his fingers. So he's doing this whole, physical, giving signs and stuff like that. I call these people chess players, evil chess players. You know what a chess player is, right? Somebody who's always scheming, always thinking of the next move and 5 moves down and what if this and what if that and stuff like that. And what does it say is going to happen to that guy? Verse 15.
Calamity will come upon him suddenly.
Calamity, disaster. Instantly, he will be broken and there will be no healing. He's always looking for the next move, but what he doesn't realize is that there's a better chess player out there. Maybe it's another man, maybe it's God Himself, right? You can't get in front of every move. Now, notice, it doesn't say don't be a chess player. I wish it said that because I don't like those guys. But it doesn't say that. It talks about a wicked person who has these schemes, that their intent is to manipulate and to control and all this kind of stuff. I'm going to bite my tongue on this one about people who are involved with the government. I think that that's what that is, but that's all I'll say about that. Okay, I'll say one more thing. I think the quickest way to make $1 billion is to team up with the government. It's an evil, wicked thing, and I think that corporations do it all the time. They control the media, they control the whole thing. I don't want to go all the way down that road unless we get distracted from the rest of the text, but that is, I think, an example of people who create problems and then monetize the solution. Okay, that's evil and it's wicked. And I could tell you, being in the finance world, there are some really great people out there, and there are some really terrible ones. That their whole objective in the investment business is to get the money out of the investors' pockets and into theirs. That really is that's their scheme. They have a lie, they have a story, they have it's an investment. No, it's a way to get the money out of the investors' pockets and into theirs. If you've ever seen The Wolf of Wall Street, that stuff happens all the time, okay, in a lot of different ways. So, and what does he say here? Ultimately, that stuff is going to catch up with them, okay? And it's going to, there will instantly, look at the last part of verse 15, instantly he will be broken and there will be no healing. There's no coming back, right? And I think, although the eschatology or the understanding of the future things is not really developed a whole lot in the Old Testament, the idea that there will be reward and punishment in the future, and that will be a final thing, is hinted at. And here's one of the places it's hinted at: there will be no healing. That guy's going to hell. Okay, he's going to hell, and he all of the schemes that he hatched will be hatched against him. That's all I'll say about that for now. Verse 16. 6 things the Lord hates, or Yahweh hates, even 7 that are an abomination to him. That idea, how he says here, there's 6 things. Oh, wait, no, there's 7, right? That's a kind of a Hebrew poetry thing that, there's this, and there's even more than that. What are the 7 things? Haughty eyes. What is haughty? Or you maybe have a different translation. Arrogant, yeah. Arrogant, prideful, right? People who just think too much of themselves. Arrogant eyes. They not only are their eyes arrogant, but they only see through that lens. They only see. They look down at everybody else, right? Somebody drives a different car, has a different occupation, lives a different kind of lifestyle. Those people, everybody's stupid. Everybody's a moron. Everybody's an idiot. Okay? God hates that. He hates it. He hates that kind of behavior. He hates haughty arrogance. He hates it. A lying tongue. God, why is it that God hates lies? Why is that?
Because he is the truth.
He is the truth. God is a God of truth. He's always truthful, right? He's always truthful. And he, by the way, is the exalted one. So to exalt yourself and be arrogant is to take the place of God. Okay? So it's an abomination to him. Haughty eyes, a lying tongue, hands that shed innocent blood, people that take advantage of people to the point of here, even in death, right? We're going to milk these people for all they've got. We're going to kill them. I suspect that there's even an evil cabal trying to keep everybody sick. I think that's actually going on in our day and time. Again, I'll reel in some of my conspiracy theories on that. But the idea that these people are shedding innocent blood, right? They're shedding innocent blood. They're taking advantage of people that are easily taken advantage of. There are weak-minded people out in the world that smart people take advantage of. And whether they kill them immediately or kill them slowly, it's the same death. They shed innocent blood. God hates that. He hates a heart that devises wicked thoughts. There's that chess player again. That his heart is intent. He's devising evil schemes. He devises wicked thoughts. Feet that run to evil, that hasten to run to evil, that are quick to run to evil. They're looking for evil. We've said this before, right? You'll find what you're looking for. If you're looking for bad stuff, you're going to find it. If you're looking for good stuff, you're going to find that. These guys, God hates feet that run to evil. They are anticipating. They are looking for it. They're pursuing it. A false witness who breathes out lies. Again, notice that there's one thing in this list that's mentioned twice. Lying. Trust is the basis of all relationships. All. Individual, business, corporate, governmental. Trust is the basis. If there is no trust, there is no relationship. It does not work. It just absolutely doesn't work. Why does God hate that? He hates it because it is evil and it absolutely destroys. It is fire. When people are deceptive and they lie, they're untruthful, he hates a false witness who breathes out lies. He hates it. It's an abomination. And then lastly, one who spreads strife among the brothers. Somebody who's always stirring the pot, always an instigator, always creating problems. We all know people that like get their jollies off of watching the world burn, right? Being people of destruction. God hates that. Let me also say it another way. The man of maturity is the opposite of these things. We'll start with the back. We'll start at the bottom and go up to the front. Instead of spreading strife, what does he do? He builds relationships. He builds the brotherhood. Instead of breathing out lies, he's a man of truthfulness. Instead of running quickly to evil, what does he do? He's looking for the good. Instead of devising wicked plans and all that kind of stuff, what's he doing? He's trying to build and plan positively. Instead of shedding innocent blood, he defends the innocent, right? He wants to kill this guy, right? That's another way of saying that. The strong, righteous man is a defender of the innocent, and he's a protector. Instead of having a lying tongue, he's a man of truthfulness. If he tells you something, his word is his bond, and that is the way it is. My father-in-law was talking about when he was captain of the fire department. He had zero tolerance for any kind of lying, and this showed up in kind of some interesting ways. He said if somebody leaves $1 on the countertop, one hitch, it ought to still be there the next day, and the hitch after that, and the hitch after that, and that dollar will just stay there until the person whose dollar it is comes and gets it, right? This finders, keepers, losers, weepers stuff, right? It doesn't go, all right, because it's not mine. I'm not going to take it. And so just this idea of integrity, being a man of integrity, being a man of honesty and truthfulness. Instead of having haughty eyes or being arrogant, what's the opposite of that? What's the opposite of arrogance?
Humble.
Being humble, right? What does James say? Humble yourself in the sight of the Lord and he'll lift you up. Let me say it a little stronger. Humble yourselves. You do not want God to humble you. And he will. Sooner or later, right? With everybody who's arrogant and raises their hand up. They're taking his place. So what do? We humble ourselves. It's a choice that we make to say, hey, and not false humility, right? Not this all shucks, but being the servant, being the guy that's, that goes last, being the one that is not constantly thinking how smart he is and how sharp he is, but taking the posture of a learner, right? And here's the thing. I've been around, I'm thinking of one particular guy that I know, wicked, crazy smart, made a ton of money, but this guy, it's not uncommon to see him sweeping a floor, or when you talk to him, he's not talking to you about his accomplishments. You know what he's doing? He's asking questions about you. That's how he is. He's humble, right? It's funny because I've met with him a couple of times, and I ended up telling him, hey man, I don't want to talk about me. I'm here to find out what you're doing. Like, this guy's really accomplished, but that's how he is, right? That's how he is. He invests in others, and I suspect that's a lot of the key to his success, is that people know that he genuinely cares about them. He's not arrogant. He's humble, and he cares about folks. So 7 things that God hates. By the way, this is one of the passages that on Sundays, we have a kind of a rotation. I don't know if you know this. So like when we do that confession of sin thing and we read a passage, there's, I don't know how many there are, maybe a dozen and a half or so passages, maybe not that many. We read the law, Exodus 20, Deuteronomy 5. We every quarter we We spent a month on one of those, so we swapped that out. And then the other 2 months, this is one of the passages that we read. We actually read this passage, these 7 things that God hates, when we're thinking about our confession of sin and our examination of ourselves before God. There are others, the sin lists in the New Testament. Those are some of the passages that we pick for that. But this is one of them. This is one of the passages that we read for that. Verse 20. My son, observe the commandment of your father. Don't abandon the law of your mother. So, this is a constant refrain in the book of Proverbs, particularly at the beginning here. Don't forget what I'm telling you. Listen up. Pay attention, right? Why does he keep saying that? This is like the 6th time that the author said that. Why do you think that is? Do you have children?
Hard-headed.
Listen to me. Open your ears, right? Pay attention, all right? I'm talking to you, all right? It's the same thing. Notice what he says about these commandments or the law of your mother. What does he say to do with them? Verse 21.
Bind them upon your heart.
Yeah, bind them upon your heart continually. Tie them around your neck. Give me your translation of that. What does it mean to bind something on your heart, to tie it around your neck? What's he getting at?
Always have it.
Yeah, needs to be right there all the time, right? Like a piece of jewelry around your neck, right? It's something that you see and it reminds you, and you think like this should be a part of who you are. It should adorn your behavior and your character. Bind it. What does it mean to bind something? Fasten it. Tie it up. Secure it. Ratchet that strap down, buddy. get a boom and lock that chain in, right? This thing's not going anywhere, right? Wherever I go, it goes, right? What you're trying to do when you boom a piece of equipment to a trailer is you're trying to make those 2 pieces one piece, right? That's what you're trying to do. That's the idea here. Take the commandments and ingest it in such a way that it becomes part of who you are. When you walk about, they'll lead you. When you sleep, it'll keep watch over you. When you awake, it'll speak to you. All the time, everywhere, right? These commandments will help you. The commandment will be a lamp. Verse 23, it's a lamp and the law is light, right? In a dark world where people have confusion, they don't know what to do, they don't know where to go, he's saying this wisdom is going to help you. These reproofs for discipline, second part of verse 23, are the way of life. You see here, this is good, this is greatness, this is all the stuff that you want. There's great reward in keeping these commandments, in other words. Excuse me. This is reminiscent of Deuteronomy 6. So you should know Deuteronomy 6. Hey, I know you guys got here early this morning. Let me tell you something deep. Deuteronomy 6 comes after Deuteronomy 5. What's Deuteronomy 5, though?
The law.
Yeah, it's the repetition of the 10 Commandments from Exodus 20. Deuteronomy 5 is the law. And you know what comes after after the giving of the law? Deuteronomy 6. Hear, O Israel, the Lord your God is one. That's the theme verse. It's the John 3:16 of ancient Israel. Deuteronomy 6:4 about their monotheism. Hear, O Israel, the Lord your God is one. And the very next verse, verse 5, you know what it says? And you shall love the Lord your God with all of your heart, with all your soul, with all your mind, with all your strength. And you shall be careful to walk in these ways. And you shall take these commandments and you shall put them on the doorpost. And you'll put them as a phylactery or a box on your head. Bind it on your head. Put it as a piece of jewelry on your wrist. The Pharisees actually literally observed this. They took headbands and put little boxes on them and wore them around. They're called phylacteries. Jesus talks about them because they do it hypocritically. But what is he saying? Take boxes of scripture and tattoo them on your head, or is that what he's saying? What's the imagery of putting the scriptures on your head and your hand? Think about it, know it, and do it. Your head and your hand, both of these things, right? These commandments, they should be everywhere. They'll be on your doorpost. What's your doorpost? It's the over the top of it's a sign, whatever you've got over the top of your door, right? And he says, teach these to your kids when you're on the way, when you're walking. Talk about this. Do this. I'll just be real practical. This, for me, like I tried to obey that very specifically. I tried to make habits, like with raising our kids. When we were, the Bible in the New Testament, Paul talks about redeeming the time because the days are evil. When we were in the car, when my kids were in the truck with Dad, that was our catechism time, right? We didn't actually do it on Sunday afternoons or something like that. We did it in the car on the way to swim practice. It was 7 minutes, okay? 7 minutes, and I had them at one point multiple times a day because of stupid swim. But, coming and going and doing all this stuff. And it wasn't all the time, okay? I broke it up. About half the time we would have, it was School of Rock. We were having a good time with that because everybody needs to know about the Led Zeppelin's the greatest rock band ever. And if you disagree, you're just wrong. So we would have a lot of fun, we would do that, but we would have catechism. Like I would ask, so I'll just tell you, what is God? Trinity. What's the Trinity? Father, Son, Holy Spirit, three persons, one God. Is the Father the Son? No. Is the Son the Spirit? No. Is the Spirit the Father? No. Three persons, one God, eternally existent, all at the same time. They could tell you that. How is salvation accomplished? By grace alone, through faith alone, in Christ alone, according to the Scriptures alone, to the glory of God alone. What are those called? Those are called the five solas. Where do they come from? The Reformation. Who is God? Jesus. Is Jesus a man? Yes. Is he God? Yes. Explain that. We can't. It's a mystery, right? These are the things that we would walk through, okay? What's the purpose of life? What's the greatest commandment? By the way, this is Westminster 1, okay? What's the chief end of man? That's the way that the Westminster says it. What's the chief end of man? The way that Cody said it is what's the point of all life? What's the thing that matters most? And the answer? To glorify God and enjoy him forever. To glorify God and enjoy him forever. What does that mean? That means that our lives ought to be completely consumed. What am I saying? This is what he's telling the Son to do, is to listen to those things, take them to heart. And it's not enough for your kids just to memorize those truths. You have to drive it into them. Ask them questions. Get after them about these things. Well, how does this work? What does this mean about this? And you can do it in a formalized setting. And I'll tell you, there were times where we got the, Dad. I'm like, shut up. I'm not asking you whether you like this or not. This is what we're doing. This is who we are, right? But we would have fun with it as much as we could, and stuff like that. But they need that. They need that. And what will it be? I'll just tell you, this is turning into something I didn't want it to, but, I'm not trying to brag about this, but this, we tried specifically to do this, and this is your job as dad. If you got grandkids, you can still do this with your grandkids, okay? If you didn't do it with your kids, that's fine. Do it with your grandkids. I'll do it with our stinking cousins and nephews and nieces. They get in the truck with me, guess what they're getting? What's the chief end of man? I don't know. You've been in church all your life, you don't know anything. Moron, quit, it's like, what are you doing? Let's go, And so this is life, right? What is this all about? What do you know about it? What you think about God is the most important thought that you think, right? And so it's life. It's life to them. They're not going to get waylaid. My kids are not going to get waylaid by Jehovah's Witnesses, Mormons, and New Age craziness, okay? Because they know what they believe, okay? Now, if they choose to walk away from the faith, it will be to their detriment and all the more damnation because their level of accountability is much higher, okay? But it won't be my fault, I can tell you that. Right? Not on my watch, right? By God. And I mean that. Okay? So he's telling the kid in the passage that we're reading here, of course I'm addressing you guys as dads and, granddads and all that kind of stuff. He's telling them, pay attention, listen to this. And so we need to do that as well. By the way, there are fathers in the faith that we need to listen to. And again, I would commend to you Westminster Standards would be a good place to start with that. But then what does he say this will do? What will the law do? What will these commandments do? What will this doctrinal instruction do? It'll keep you from the wayward woman. It will keep your heart right. When you're focused on the good, you're not focused on the bad. You're not focused on this nonsense. Notice what it says. It'll keep you from her, verse 24. Verse 25, he gives two negative commands. Don't do something. What does he say not to do? Don't desire her beauty in your heart. Don't desire. Notice what he doesn't say. He doesn't say that she's not beautiful. She may be really hot to trot, man. He says, don't desire that. Don't focus. How do you not desire something? Quit looking at it. Quit thinking about it, right? Think about something else. Direct your attention to the commandments, right? And the things that matter, right? Take control of your desire. Some people, there's this horrible lie in our culture that says that, well, that's just my heart. And like you can't direct your heart. Like your heart is some kind of tyrant who just rules uncontrollably. And we're not living our authentic self. This is the other big lie. I'm not being authentic if I'm not following my heart. That's stupid. It's idiocy, okay? That's how you die, okay? Follow your heart right into the ditch and die, okay? Follow your heart to the bottom of a bottle and die. Follow your heart to an adulteress and lose your life, okay? Follow your heart with evil men and die. That's what's going to happen. Go to hell. That's what will happen, okay? Don't follow your heart. The heart is wicked and evil and sinful, okay? The heart needs to be redeemed and directed. He says, don't desire her beauty. Don't desire it. Don't go after that. That's why porn is such a horrible thing, okay? Because it's out there. It's right in your pocket. It's the porn in your pocket, right? We've never had accessibility like we've had before. Don't let her capture you with her eyelids, with that fluttering thing that she does or whatever, right? Don't look at her. Don't do that, right? Stay away. That's the idea. It says, verse 26, what happens to the guy that goes to her? He's reduced to a loaf of bread. There's something interesting about that verse. It exposes a lot of what's going on behind the scenes. That is an act. What she is doing, it's not about you. It's not flattering to you. That's an act. You are a loaf of bread. She is trying to provide for herself, performing sexual acts. And you are the one paying the bill. This is about money. This is not about you. You'll be reduced to a loaf of bread, a means to an end, right? That's what that means. An adulteress hunts for the precious life. Unfortunately, it's even so bad sometimes that you have women that are this evil that I think are probably actually demon-possessed, that are actually trying to get good guys to do bad things. I've even heard stories of guys being targeted for wearing wedding rings and all kinds of stuff like that. Stay away. Then he talks about verse 27. He kind of goes into this thing about, if you sleep with another man's wife, and this is really the context. He's talking directly about sleeping with somebody else's wife. He's saying there's going to be payment for that. And what's the payment?
You get burned.
Not only are you going to get burned by her, but you're going to get burned by him.
Vengeance.
Yeah, vengeance. Like you are pissing this dude off, right? And he is going to come after you. And the Bible actually makes provision for this. I don't know if you know this or not. The Bible actually makes provision for a guy who sleeps with another man's wife that he be killed, that he be stoned along with her, right? There's actually provision for that, and the Bible pretty much says that's okay. It gives some rules around that and how it's supposed to work. And so this idea, verse 32, he who commits adultery with a woman is lacking a heart of wisdom. It'll say later, which we'll read this verse, but I'll mention it now. The man who commits adultery with a woman is stupid. That's what it says. Lacking sense. There's one translation, but another one here is lacking wisdom. But it's stupid, right? It's idiocy. So that compare and contrast that with what God hates. God hates this haughty eyes and stuff like this. The guy who thinks he's smart, the guy who thinks he's a player. Notice this: he who would do it. Into verse 32. He who would destroy his soul does it. How did your translation read on that one? Into verse.
Destroys himself.
Yeah, destroys himself.
Destroys himself. Are you finding life? No. You're finding death. You're destroying yourself. It's a soul killer. Okay? There's some things that you do. Can they be forgiven? Yes. Can you be restored? Yes. Are things ever the same? No. Jesus himself still carries the marks of sin. He still has the nail prints. He still has the scar in his side. Sin always leaves scars. There is regret that is can never go away, right? And now, if somebody in here or whatever has done this, I'm not trying to bring extra guilt on anybody or whatever, but the idea is that you should avoid it at all costs, right? There's some things that are just not worth it. And this is one of those. There are some things that have a disproportionate amount of pain and difficulty than other things, okay? I'll give you an example. If I don't know, let's say you tell what we would call a white lie about something. Is that wrong? Is it evil? Is it bad? Yes, okay. But is that the same as cheating on your wife? There's a disproportionate amount of pain and suffering that go along with that. It's one thing, to have one too many beers and be a little tipsy. And is it wrong to be drunk? Yes. Okay. It's a complete another thing, right? To be a drunkard and live a lifestyle of such that you have multiple DWIs, you wreck your car, maybe you kill somebody, maybe you lose your job. Those are two very different levels of intensity, right? Now you could even make the case that one of those leads to the other, and maybe that is the case for some people. But there are disproportionate effects of certain sins, and adultery is adultery and murder are probably at the top of the list of disproportionate effects, negative effects. And so the Bible gives a lot of space to this to stay away from it. You destroy your soul. It talks about verse 33, wounds and disgrace he will find, reproach will not be blotted out, jealousy enrages a man. You will stir up something in a guy that you can't put out, right? Even if she's willing and whatever, the disrespect that you do to another man. One of the ways to help yourself when you're thinking about this is that she is somebody's. If she's not somebody's wife, and if she is, that's one good way of thinking about it is say, this is, I know this guy. And even if you hate the guy, right, you know this guy. The other way of thinking about it, she's somebody's daughter, she's somebody's aunt, she's somebody's cousin, somebody, there's some man that's related to her, and you violate them as well as you violate her, okay?
Oh, it's a crazy woman that'll wreck your life.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's right. Yeah, that's it. Yeah, crazy people. Yeah. I'm trying to keep it clean here.
I did.
Yeah, you did. Yeah, you did. Yeah. Jealousy enrages a man. He will not spare in the day of vengeance. There ain't nothing you can say to turn him away. He gonna whoop your ass. Right? That's where it comes down to. I have a personal story about this, not with me, but with somebody that I knew. One of my family members, he's deceased now, but he walked in and caught his best friend with his wife, and he nearly killed him. Not once, but multiple times he put this guy in the hospital. And every time he came to town, he whooped that ass. Guy got after him with a tire tool one time, broke his arm. He took the tire tool from him and put him in the hospital. And to the day he died. I'm not saying this is right or good. You need to forgive and you need to move on. But as far as I know, to the day he died, he carried that hate and anger towards that man to the day he died. It didn't go away. Never went away. The betrayal, the anger, the hate. Again, do we need to forgive and all that kind of stuff? But just practically speaking, that's kind of the way it works sometimes. Don't be that guy. Don't be that guy. Be a man who is building something good with your wife. Let me give you just some practical considerations real quick, some things I thought about. And if you've got other things, please interject on this. Be careful what you give your heart to. Be careful what you look at. Be careful what you allow. You need to have a guard and a filter on what you let in your life, right? We're talking specifically about sexual stuff here, but that can include finances. I mean, Calvin said it this way, our hearts are idol factories. Be careful. Be careful what you let yourself get enticed with. Power, money, women, all that stuff. Those are typical man stuff. Stay away from people and places that influence you to make bad decisions. stay away from people and places that influence you to make bad decisions. There are some places that you just shouldn't go. There are some people you just don't need to hang out with. Okay? And you know who and where those are. Okay? I don't see any reason whatsoever that a Christian man ought to ever be at a strip club, right? At a titty bar. I don't see any redeemable value in that, right? Well, I'm witnessing to them. It's kind of hard to do that when you're putting dollar bills in there. You know, that it just doesn't work that way. I'm gonna put a track. No. Just stay away. You're not helping yourself. You're not helping them. Stay away from those people. I'll just tell you, there are people that I don't associate with, not because I'm hoity-toity better or something like that, but some of these guys are fun, right? They're whatever. They're good time Charlies, right? But I have very limited exposure and time with those guys, right? And and some of them I have to be around for some work stuff and things like that. But I'm not a jerk about it for the most part. I will if they press me on it. If they press me, like I had some guys one day, they wanted to go to the titty bar and and do all this stuff. And I said, no, I'm out. Oh, what's the matter? I said, you want to do this? I mean, I go straight to scorched earth. Okay, I just go straight scorched earth. I'll fight you right now. Whoa, man. Like, you don't have to be like, call me a pussy. Call me a pussy and see if I don't punch you in the nose. Okay? Right? Leave me alone. I don't want to do this. Don't. You want to, we'll see who's the pussy. Because I'm about to whoop that ass. Right? Okay? Don't. I just go scorched earth. I mean, now, I don't know if that's the best way. That's the way I do it. Right? It's only happened a couple of times. I mean, I'm 47. It's only happened a couple of times. But here's the thing. You do it once and they don't ask you again. You know how many times they've asked me to go to the titty club since then? They know better. They're like, no, don't ask that guy. He ain't going. He's going to threaten to whoop everybody, It'll take 6 of us to get him out there, It's like, you can call me a sissy or whatever, what are you, fag? Let me tell you something. I like that woman. I married her because I liked her. And I want to keep her, right? And not only is it not good for me, it's disrespectful to her. I'm not going there, and I'm not hanging out with those guys. I just don't. Like, I know guys are complete perverts, right? And I just don't hang out with them. I have very limited exposure to them as much as I can. Stay away from people and places that influence you to make bad decisions. Invest in your marriage. Invest in your marriage. Go on dates. Have adventure together. Cultivate your relationship with her and romance her, right? Do that. Have a good time, Marriage bed is undefiled, but it doesn't have to all just be about sex and all that stuff. It can be, but that stuff comes and goes, right? Over time, I'll be 28 years here next month that I've been married. Feelings come and go, and they come back again. And there are things that you can do to cultivate those feelings, and that you can do to increase, the desire. One of the things that you could do, one of the best things you could do, is pray for the things that you want that are good. I want to have a good relationship with my wife. I want to have a passionate affection and deep connection with each other. I want for us to enjoy life together and enjoy each other. I want us to build something that's meaningful and true and strong well into our old age. I want us to do that. I want it to. Does there need to be some spice sometimes? Absolutely. That's good. That's fine. That's nothing wrong with that. Okay. I had a single guy ask me one time, "You been married that long?" And I said, "Yeah, man. I ain't telling you because it's none of your freaking business, but yeah, things get spicy in a good way. Okay, and don't ask me for details because it ain't none of your freaking business either. But let me tell you, you be respectful, but talk about that stuff, man. And hey, you marry a good woman, and guess what? Things are good. It's not. Is it always great and sex fest all the time? No. Is it sometimes? Yeah. Right. Okay. And that's good. I'll stop there. Anyway, there's a lot more I can say. Let's just leave it at that. It's time to go. Resources. Rigney's got a book called More Than a Battle. I mentioned this last week. Covenant Eyes. If you need software for your phone or whatever, keep yourself pure. If you need some accountability, with that, talk with guys. There's not a guy out there that, a red-blooded guy that doesn't want to look at naked women. Get some accountability if you need that. Keep things on the straight and narrow. Let me pray for us and we'll get out of here. Father, help us to be men of rightly ordered affections. Make us love what's good and hate what is evil. Help us to love our wives and our children, build families for the kingdom. In Jesus' name, amen.
Amen.
All right. We'll see you later, Grant.